Saksikan segmen Money Talks bersama saya Syarifah Rahma dan langsung dari perhelatan BRI Microfinance Outlook 2025. Saat ini saya sudah bersama dengan Albert F. Park selaku Chief Economist of the Asian Development Bank or ADB. Hello, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for your time for CNBC Indonesia. It's a pleasure to have you here. Okay, so the first question for you is how does ADB plan to accelerate access to financial services for vulnerable groups, especially MSMEs, women, youth, and rural population in Asia and the Pacific?
ADB is very active in supporting efforts to promote financial inclusion in the region. In some cases, we actually provide some financing support through loans to help microfinance organizations or financial institutions provide more access to the vulnerable groups that you described to make lending more inclusive. But I think even more important than that, we often work with governments to help them devise strategies of reform and to build infrastructure and other institutional capabilities to expand access to vulnerable groups. These days we have quite an emphasis on using digitalization to promote greater financial access. We know that digitalization is a very powerful technology for allowing people, no matter where they are, whether they live in remote areas, to access information, to make payments, to access financial services in a way that's much more convenient and can really make them part of economic growth. The other thing I think that's very important is helping the healthy development of MSMEs in general, micro, small, and medium enterprises, because they're the most dynamic part of every economy. They help promote innovation and growth, but also they tend to employ more workers and less skilled workers, which promotes greater inclusivity of how growth transforms people's lives.
Okay, so from your point of view, what are the key factors that will drive an inclusive and sustainable economy in Asia and Pacific by this year, 2025?
Well, a lot of these processes won't happen in a year, but I think, as I mentioned, thinking about using technology to not create divides, but to promote inclusivity is really important. And of course, in addition to e-commerce and digital economy opportunities, where you really need to build out infrastructure so that everybody can access the internet, and also provide internet services cheaply enough where even if you are near a signal, you can actually afford to. So there's no internet poverty. That's really important. But also, I think in general, there are other parts of the environment for digitalization that are quite powerful. It'll help businesses in remote areas develop in a healthy way. And so it really is critical for a more inclusive pattern of business development and MSME growth. So it's good that organizations like BRI also trying to support business clusters to really improve the capabilities of MSMEs in different parts of the country to promote more equal development. In addition, for inclusivity broadly, we also need to focus on human capital investments. So that's really important for the longer term, not so much the shorter term. So programs like investing in better nutrition for children, which is a focus of the current, the new government. Absolutely, I think that's really important for inclusive development for the next generation, but also learning outcomes. So supporting better education quality that is equal everywhere. And of course, even there, digitalization is important. You can deliver really higher quality education and health services to remote areas through digital public services. And so that's also a way in which digitalization can support more inclusive development.
Okay, so amid these global uncertainties, like you said on your previous session, there's like a geopolitical things and then Trump administrations and other stuffs. So how does ADB view on the economic prospects and growth potential of MSMEs?
Well, MSMEs always play a critical role in growth and dynamism. They tend to be very innovative. They tend to grow fast if they can find successful business lines. There is a lot of uncertainty globally. We think it's very important that countries in the region, number one, remain open to trade and investment, even though there's a challenging external environment. And we've actually seen through all of the recent turmoil that has affected the global economy and the first Trump administration, that governments in the region have really done that. They've stayed open. And that's also important for providing more opportunities for technology transfer and growth of MSMEs. And so we're optimistic that that will continue regardless of what the Trump administration does. Even though at a global level, we have some concerns that, you know, if there's more protectionism in the world and industrial policies that are anti-competitive, that it could actually slow growth globally. We've seen that growth in Asia and the Pacific has tended to be stronger and more resilient than other parts of the world because there's a lot, in a big country like Indonesia, for instance, there's a lot of momentum that's being gained from domestic economy growth and private consumption growth that can support dynamism and higher growth rates for MSMEs and more broadly, even in the uncertain global environment.
Okay, do you have any specific numbers for the prospect of economic growth and maybe the potential of growth in MSMEs, and especially as we know that our government aims for 8% growth in the futures?
Well, our latest forecast for economic growth in Indonesia, which we released in December, is that growth would be 5% this year, which is comparable to the growth that Indonesia has achieved in the last few years. It's not 8%, but it's pretty good. It's still above our average growth rate for Southeast Asia, our expectation, and it's still above the expected average growth rate for developing Asia as a whole. So obviously, if there's a good environment for growth and the government can pursue growth-enhancing policies, improve the business environment, attract FDI, all of these things that contribute, they can certainly surpass 5% going forward. But I think that's still pretty good. Growth in Indonesia has been very resilient, and MSMEs are part of that resilience because MSMEs tend to be kind of the most responsive and flexible and nimble actors in any economy.
Okay, that's interesting. And last question for you is, what are ADB's expectation for this BRI Microfinance Outlook 2025 event, and how does ADB view on BRI's role in empowering MSMEs and promoting sustainable financing?
Well, we're really honored to be part of this event and to work with BRI on a number of different initiatives. They're a terrific partner for supporting inclusive and sustainable development. They have been for many, many years. And so they're important for Indonesia, and I think they're an important example for the region in all of the ways in which they have, for instance, you know, Indonesia has a financial inclusion, like a national strategy for doing that, which is a great example to set. And there are special programs where from the very top there's a consistent emphasis on promoting inclusion in how they expand access to their financial services, supporting poor villages, supporting business clusters, supporting greater access for women entrepreneurs. All of that are so important for advancing the inclusive development agenda in Indonesia and in the region.
Okay, thank you so much for your valuable insights. It's been so interesting. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very
very
happy
much.
to be here.
Dan pemirsa, demikian perbincangan kami bersama dengan Albert F. Park selaku Chief Economist of the Asian Development Bank or ADB. Langsung dari perhelatan BRI Microfinance Outlook 2025, saya Syarifah Rahma, CNBC Indonesia Beyond Business.